What's up, everybody? Just Chef Chris Tzorin. Hey, let's chop it up. Episode 4. We're here with Brandon Hall with Time Well Spent, right, Brandon?
Yes, sir. What's up?
Hey, are you ready to chop it up about this or what?
Let's go. Let's go.
Hey, so I just got to say, Brandon, you've been in the game for how long, bro?
So we've been doing it professional for about 8 years. Yeah.
Dang, can you believe that? Hey, Jay, so here's Jay, everyone. Man,
Yo.
so what up, Jay?
Welcome. Yo, definitely thank Bruheim Brewery for having us. We're up in Anaheim, California on location, guys. And we're right across the street from Angel Stadium. So we definitely want to give props to Bruheim Brewery for having us here at that lounge. Yo, I'm drinking me and Brandon right now, we're enjoying the
Real
Marzen Austrian style beer, Vienna. It is definitely a good beer. What you think about the beer, Brandon?
Oh man, this is great. This is beer number 2, and it's very easy to drink.
All right, guys, let's chop it up. Let's not drink.
I
Let's go.
Have to say, Bruheim, much love to you guys. I do bring Taste Collective, one of the food trucks here, a lot. Everybody loves the beer. It pairs really well with our food, man. So this beer pairs really well with everything. Just got to say, shout out to Bruheim. All righty, go ahead, Jay.
Yo, Brandon, I definitely want to thank you. Time Well Spent LLC is your company.
Yep.
Talk about your company, and let's chop it up.
Yeah, man. Well, first off, thank you guys for having me. Thank you, Bruheim. But so Time Well Spent Catering. We do a little bit of everything. We do everything from catering, in-home private dinners, which I know Chris big with.
Wow, yeah.
We try to give that Michelin star experience. In-home luxury dining.
That's right.
We do baby showers. We do bridal showers, weddings. And my favorite thing to do is corporate. We do a lot of corporate work right now. So we try to give that high-end restaurant experience. You can do it at home. And we also are, as you know, in the last year, we built a Ghost Kitchen. It's a spot for our business to grow. It's also a place for other chefs to come rent. And then something I know you're interested, we want to start doing some pop-ups in there. So,
that's what really caught my eye when we were talking about this. That's what I was like, when we're episode 4 here, let's chop it up. We're talking about food trucks, chefs, everything. And I'm like, dude, you've been on my radar for a hot minute.
Yeah, man.
I mean, I seen the way you built your spot and, your business. I'm like, okay, is it a restaurant? Is it catering? It's almost like when people see us, like even Jay, when he first met, he's like,
Yes.
what do you do, Chris? I see you at somebody's house. But then I see you on the truck.
Yes.
Then I see you at a restaurant. Like, what do you do?
I know.
So it's
Yeah.
a struggle, right? I mean, like, it's everything. So, what we at with this, Jay? What do you think? What do you want to ask?
Well, first of all, you touched on corporate.
Yeah.
So can you explain? Because first of all, when I think of catering, I usually think of the things that you listed. I think of baby showers.
Yep.
I think of weddings.
Yep.
But can you touch on the corporate, how your company is doing that?
Yeah, so we basically, we have some big corporate clients. Earth Friendly Products is one of our biggest one. We basically come in, and whether it be a Christmas party, if they want to have clients in, to showcase their products, my job is to come in there and put together some great food for them, and kind of help sell their business, but at the same time, show them what we got and showcase the food that we do.
Nice. Can you talk about, I don't know if you want to reveal your clients.
Yeah.
I know there might be some clients who have privacy issues.
Sure.
But do you want to talk about some of the clients that you're working with? Name those big corporations.
Yeah.
We want to know about them.
Yeah, so, Earth Friendly Products, Ecos is a big one. Frida's Produce.
Wow.
We've done work from, Disney. We've done some work. We've worked with Vans, Volcom. That's just to name a few. And, the nice thing about doing the corporate work is everything's super dialed in, super lined up for us. It's also challenging, though, because most corporate clients don't have kitchens, right?
Oh, yeah.
So with a lot of those, we're building out satellite kitchens or, moving everything from our spot to a new spot, building a kitchen, and, trying to turn a restaurant into a corporate facility for 24 hours. It's a wild experience.
I can only imagine because me and Jay, we do corporate events with the food trucks.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's much easier. We pull up, we open up and it's still hard. I'm not going to say it's easy. I'm just saying it's hard. We pull up, we set up outside, boom, we open up the window and everybody nobody can see all of the stuff that goes behind the scenes because it's a truck.
It's crazy.
Like there's stuff on the floor.
Yeah.
There's grease that spills.
Wait a minute, not on my
No,
truck.
no.
There ain't no food on the floor on my truck. I don't know what's happening on Chris.
We're not
I'm
talking
just
about-
joking.
No, when things fall, like say
keep
the
it real.
oil spills.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you're in a corporation, you're in this beautiful building, and oil spills on the floor.
Right.
Like, how do you hide that? You can't.
Yeah.
In a food truck, at least you could be like, oh, throw something on top of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I can only imagine the pressure and the thought process that goes behind every time you go out. There's a lot of stuff that goes on.
Yeah, I tell people catering, obviously the food's number one most important. But if you're a chef and you're a caterer and you're doing corporate work, you almost have to be a mover, right? It's like you're a moving company. We're moving it from one space after we prepped it. You're getting to the location. You're setting up the kitchen. You're setting up carpet so you keep all that grease hidden. And then after the event's done, you're a loading company again. I go from being chef hat to loading hat. So I'm loading everything back in the truck, bring it to my shop, trying to clean it. And it is crazy. A lot of times we'll pipe and drape that area that we're doing the kitchen. But a lot of clients want it to be an open facility. So we're worried about what we're doing. We want it to look beautiful. We want the kitchen to look nice. We want them to see our plate up. So, it's a different animal. It's not for everybody. But, we're driven. I'm personally driven by failure, not success. I'm always worried about failure. So when we do these big events like that, I'm just pushing so hard to make sure I don't fail because you got that anxiety. And it starts from the minute you walk on site to setting up the kitchen to tearing it down, making it look good, making sure there's no grease on the floor. You make a mistake in a corporate facility, you might be messing up some very expensive floors or, it's a scary proposition.
Yes. The other day I was at Coca-Cola. This is a different industry because I do film work on the side.
Yeah.
And I was with Pop-Up Smiles. And, they sent up their dentist chairs and all that. But we're in Coca-Cola corporate offices inside. Yeah. And I was like, man, like nothing could get messed up. And the events that I've done at people's houses, and you've done people's houses, it's like you're dealing with people's, like they might have like their grandma's towel on the stove.
Oh yeah.
They love because they feel like grandma.
I would have grabbed grandma's towel for sure. My wife knows that. Sorry,
you know what I mean?
babe.
But you know what I mean? It's like that's the type of stuff that you have to think about. Like, dude, don't grab that, dude. Like, or put it away. Like, get a box, put everything away, and put it back. Like roll out a carpet. I was at somebody's house in Coto de Casa last week. Big event. I was doing a party 100. I had the food truck and the plancha, and then we're on their basketball court setting up at somebody's house. The basketball court. I had to put a bunch of black tarp down.
Oh yeah.
So, and then what's the first thing that happens? The grease pops and there's a big grease splatter on the floor. Luckily, I had the tarp out, but that's where everybody thinks these catering. You could just hire anybody and just like pay your minimum.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you might not get that pretty tarp on the floor, and you might get a big grease stain on the floor, or you know what I mean. You might get how can I say it's half-assed work.
Oh yeah.
Right, Jay. What do you think?
Just when you're talking about all the attention to detail that you have to consider, because when you're talking about catering, obviously the client just sees the food,
right,
and that's all they think about. They think, okay, so we're hiring Brandon. He's gonna cook some good food. I've seen the pictures. I know what I've tasted the food, right? Because you do, client tastings, right?
Oh yeah.
So I've tasted the food, but then Brandon, you have to think about all the details that are involved in that catering event. And I could only imagine what that entails.
And we're not even getting into I call them the oh shits, okay? We're not even talking about, hey, dude, we freaking forgot the beef back. I did a yacht party. I forgot the damn asada back at the restaurant.
Wow.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, how do you, and we're supposed to party in a half an hour, like Ubering it over there. Like, what? Like, tell me, like, what do you go through?
So, no joke. Like, this happened yesterday. I was in, oh God, what was it? Laguna de Gale, beautiful home. Get there and meet the client, walk the house. All right, this is gonna be great. Really sexy house. I'm outside unloading the truck, and you got your rolling carts, right?
Yeah.
So I start putting beverage dispensers in my rolling cart. Well, I turn around, I reach for something in my truck, turn around to grab that rolling cart, and it's not there. Turn around, and what's it doing? It's rolling down the hill, right?
Oh,
no joke. So
wow.
And mind you, we had already, like, we're trying to get one step ahead, right? So I pre-filled. I had my green juice that we made, orange juice, everything. I turn around and run full speed. It's about to hit the curb, literally. Wow. This was something out of a movie. I'm running full speed. As I'm doing that, a black Tesla's coming up.
Oh, man.
So I was inches away. It was probably 100 feet away from me by the time I saw that it was away.
Yeah.
I was inches away from grabbing it, thought I was in the clear, and sure enough, it hit a crack, fell over, and cracked. I thought the Tesla would pass me by. Well, sure enough, that's a homeowner.
Wow.
Oh,
Luckily,
man.
they saw what happened, and in this business, you have to adjust quick. Like,
Oh, yeah,
we
yeah.
can make lists to check our list. It'll be the last thing I think about before I go to bed. I'll put in my notes, and things happen. You forget things, right? So
The oh shits.
it's about
Right.
how quickly you can adjust, right? Failure is not an option, so you gotta make things work. If you forget something, you don't have time to grab it. You need to find a way to make a sauce with something they have at their house. You got to just adjust on the fly.
Right. And wait, so with that cart,
Yeah.
was there product on there
There
that
was
you
product on
needed
there.
for that event?
I did. So we had green juice, we had orange juice. Luckily, it wasn't like a protein or something like that.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if it were like a protein that spilled everywhere? But one of the things I do before I go to an event, and this is learning from experience, is I'll find out where the nearest groceries stores
Yeah.
are near
Oh,
me.
that-
Make myself a list. So I knew that I had an Albertsons like 5 minutes away. It was kind of nice that the client saw it in a weird way because they knew that we were running into a struggle. And sometimes you can turn that negative into a positive. They saw that it broke.
They have sympathy.
They have sympathy.
Yeah,
And you
sympathy.
know what? They
Right.
appreciate because their reaction was, we can do without the orange juice and green juice. I said, no. I put people into place, let everybody know what to do. I hightailed at the grocery store, did about 90 on the freeway.
Oh, man.
And anyways, came back with that and turned negative into positive because
Yeah.
before I left, she said, I can't believe you guys made that happen. I appreciate it. And, all was well.
That's where it's at. That's exactly what chef life is all about.
Yep.
I mean, like, you have to live and breathe it, but how to navigate.
Yeah.
Like, how to navigate. Like, even with us in the food trucks, like sometimes a fryer might go down, or
Yep.
Or like a grill might shoot the Ansel system all over your truck.
Man.
Something like that might happen. Right, Chris?
Oh,
Has that
man.
ever happened to you? I don't
Oh
know.
man!
Okay,
yes,
okay.
yes,
But,
yes.
but,
Oh,
but,
man.
to your point, to your credit, you turned that into a positive.
Yeah.
From the store, you did sushi.
Yeah,
You did
so-
bowls.
So
Go ahead.
real quick, I had it was a Friday night. It was actually Saturday morning, 1:00 in the morning. I was setting up the truck. We're at the nightclub because that's where our business is. It's a nightclub at night. When we have a heavy event in the morning. So as we're setting up, we're selling. So the whole truck is getting set up. We had a grease fire. The Ansel system popped.
Oh,
I had to throw away all the food. I went back to the yard, cleaned up. 5 in the morning, get home. I had an event at 10 in the morning.
oh man.
And then I didn't know how to call this client and tell them I can't make it. Of course, they had other trucks there, but we were the main truck of the event.
Yeah.
And, they wanted Chef Chris Tzorin there.
Right.
So, and I turned around and called the client. Arafat, the owner of the yard, was like, hey, bro, the most positive Chris, the happy guy, if anybody could do it, you can pull this off.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
you're a chef. Think about it.
Yep.
And then what's the first thing I think of? There's rice cookers. Yes. The answer, there's no propane,
Right.
but I can still use induction burners.
That's right. That's
and I
right.
have
Yep.
rice cookers. So I
Oh,
made
yeah.
rice bowls with the asada, barbecue, chicken, and
Right.
also sushi and poke. So, you know what I mean? And then I showed up and it was
You made it work.
yeah, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, Chris had this amazing sushi at the event. He didn't do tacos, he did sushi.
And they have no
They
idea
have
what happens behind the scenes.
idea.
That's right.
No idea.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
No idea. So we're talking about this, how do we overcome situations?
And
it's crazy.
people ask me all the time, when you're in homes, they ask you, what food do you like to cook?
Oh,
Blah,
yeah.
blah. What's the difference between a cook and a chef? In my opinion, cooks can cook great food, right?
Yeah.
But a chef can make those decisions. A cook can make, turn magic in from a problem like that. You could flip it and turn it into a positive or, and I tell myself this all the time, if I'm going through a hard part or hard phase or having some challenges, failure is not an option. Failure is not an option. I literally tell myself that all the time. And man, you just make something work,
I like that. I don't think none of us would be here today with our businesses if we were not, if we can overcome fear.
Right.
Right.
Because I think that's what the
Anxiety drives you.
exactly
That anxiety drives you.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
think we've all been when we're all line cooks somewhere at one point.
Yep.
When you heard the ticket machine going off on a holiday and you're on the line and
Oh, yeah.
you're just all this dripping in sweat.
Yep.
I mean, you just
Hear it
thinking,
in your sleep.
yeah, you hear it right
Yes.
or wrong.
Yes.
You hear the
I'm waking up thinking about
Stacking paper.
I gotta still give this table their food, and my wife is like, "Yo, you're at home in bed. Go to sleep, please." So
Yes.
I feel that anxiety. Yeah,
the
for real.
anxiety.
It's
But
real.
that's what the anxiety. It shoves you and pushes you
Oh, it does. It does.
overcome failure and the fear.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why we're all sitting here today talking about these stories that are now at the time, people like that's. I guess that's what makes or breaks you, right?
Oh, it really
in
does.
this industry.
Yeah,
and it makes you actually.
it's not for the weak.
It's not.
Not at all.
It's not, right? Now I want to go into this part with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have this. Okay, so time well spent, catering, all this. So what made you decide to that your location that you have now?
Yeah.
To build it, and with who and how? Like, tell me all about. There's somebody out there listening, and somebody that my goal for this podcast is for somebody's out there saying, you know what, I want to be like Chef Brandon, like Chef Jay, like Chef Chris, or maybe they might pick a little bit of what we have and build their own, because there's somebody out there that's fearful of doing this. We're gonna get them over their fear. So what, like, how did the thought process, business plan, everything? Tell us about it, brother.
So the actual space is something, you know, my wife and I will go to dinner, right? And when you go to dinner, you say, we're not talking about work. 5 minutes into dinner, what are you doing? You're talking about work, right? So you're talking about goals, and my wife and I run the business together. So for years, we've been kind of visualizing this space. And honestly, the back of my head, I thought, you know, what are the reality that this is going to happen? So back about a year and a half ago, you know, we were outgrowing our space, and I was noticing the challenges with kind of the confines of our old spot. So I reached out to a bunch of realtors, half of which don't even respond to you, right? It's very hard to find a spot. I was looking for a taco spot or something that went out of business, right? Something small to where I didn't have to put a whole bunch of infrastructure that would have a hood in it. Finally found a realtor who would return my call. And, you know, he kind of broke down like what our budget was and everything like that. Well, a few days later, he called me and he said, I got good news and bad news. If you guys want to go to Anaheim, and we're based out of we live in Huntington Beach, so I wanted to be as close to home as I could.
Yeah, you get that's a drive.
It's a drive, yeah. We're willing to do it for the right spot, but I didn't want to necessarily. But so, anyways, he goes, "There's nothing really by you guys, but I have some good news. Based on your numbers and what you guys are willing to pay, have you guys thought about buying?" And I remember when he told me that, I thought, "Nah, man, there's just no way." I you know, so we started talking numbers and everything. So we kind of gave him our numbers, our financials, and he looked at everything and he said, all right, let me see what I can do. Well, 2 days later, he goes, let's go look at a spot. First spot he brought me was in Midway City, and no, nothing wrong with Midway City.
Right.
But he brought us to like the most ghetto building ever. Ooh, right? And this building used to be, it was a morgue. Oh, so yeah,
the vibe was not there.
The vibe was not there.
Cooking in a morgue, I don't know.
And I believe in vibes.
It was actually across the street from a cemetery too.
Okay, wow.
So,
Jimmy knows about cemeteries.
Perfect location to serve food, right?
Yeah.
Look at Jimmy on the beat.
But to be honest with you, that's looking in retrospect. At the time, it was the most beautiful thing in the world to me, right? Because I started seeing the vision, like, oh my God, this could be our spot. We can make it happen. And we made an offer on that one. Fortunately, it fell through. Well, it fell through because my realtor didn't do his job. I guess that city of Westminster won't allow any more catering.
Oh, really?
No, at least it wasn't zoned for that. So on to the next spot. We looked at Old World Huntington Beach. Thought we had a spot there, and it was actually kind of dope. Upstairs, they had an apartment. So you had this kitchen underneath.
Oh, nice.
So, I'm telling my wife, I was like, this means now I can work like 18-hour days instead of 16-hour days.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right? The chef
she loves that.
Yeah.
Let me move into my
I thought about all the benefits,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
So we made an offer on that and got beat out. So, at that point, we're getting a little frustrated. I'm still dealing with my old space, still working crazy hours, right?
Yeah.
Just to go meet a realtor at the spot, I had to move things around just to have like some free time. Finally, he called me and said, I got this spot in Costa Mesa, which, Costa Mesa, the thriving food city, as you guys know. We were talking about it earlier.
Right.
Excuse me. So I remember pulling up to the spot, and it was like a brand new building. And what this investment company came in, it was a transmission shop. So it was a big old building. Company came in and bought it for like $3.5 million, subdivided into 12 units. So they were selling individual units. So the one he showed me was 1,800 square feet, no kitchen, nothing, new floors, new everything.
Empty shell.
Which the pros and cons, right? I'm not going to have any infrastructure built for me, but I can make it how I want, right? All those dinners me and my wife had, I could start putting that thing to work. So made an offer on that one. Luckily got our spot, and then started interviewing contractors, and that's kind of how we got our spot. And, And when we were trying to get the space, we wanted somewhere we can grow our company. I can do more caterings. Have a walk-in, something we never had. I just had double door
beautiful.
fridges.
A walk-in. We don't have walk-ins.
I told my wife I'd sleep in there my first night. I'd sleep in my and I didn't. But the thought of having a walk-in compared to a bunch of double door fridges where you're adjusting everything was an amazing thought. And
now you can throw a speed rack full of product.
We put
and then you
coolers
call it a
in there
wrap.
for the next day, and it's just it saves on my labor. And the next day we get there, we roll it all out, and that's a wrap.
Now you have space to bulk shop.
That's
right.
That's huge.
So now
That's
you
huge.
Bulk
have
shop
that
is
space.
Contracts with bigger
huge.
companies that can give me that product, and
Sure.
yeah, we can if I get a case of chicken, I can break it all down, vacuum seal it.
Yeah.
Now I'm not ordering every week and running around doing so much.
I saw your vacuum
sourcing.
sealer on Instagram, by the way.
It's my baby.
Yeah, the vacuum sealers
Yeah.
are amazing. You can
It
prep,
is.
vacuum seal, and then you
Sous
have
vide.
it. Yeah, you can
Yep.
sous vide it.
Yeah,
That's
sous
the
vide,
big
I'm
thing.
actually doing that on the food truck right now. Like,
is that right?
Yeah, you get all the product, cook it, cool it down, and then vacuum seal. It's a wrap.
Oh, it's a game. It's game changer. It adds shelf life to your product. You can do
Yeah.
compressions. You can do clarifying. You can do a whole bunch of cool stuff. And
Wow.
man, that thing has been a lifesaver. I mean, just adding value from like shelf life on herbs. Instead of being good for a week, I've got 2 weeks out of it, 3 weeks
Wow.
out of it. And
Well, that's
storage
big.
too. I'm not using as many Cambros and deli cups and stacking it all up. So it's been dope.
All right, I got to get that vacuum sealer.
Get
Vacuum
that.
seal. You know
Because-
what? They
Yeah.
have one next door, by the way. After the show, we're gonna go look
Right-
at one. Yeah,
right next
right
door.
next door.
Get
You
out of
can
here.
use mine too. I got you.
No doubt,
I got
no
you.
doubt.
Yeah,
I
that way more
definitely
chefs come visit Bruheim.
That's right. Yeah.
No,
sure.
I appreciate that tip because there is
Yeah.
a lot of things that you wouldn't think about, like as far as in our business,
Yeah.
vacuum sealing
Yeah.
vegetables,
Yep.
different
Product.
things like that.
You guys'
Marinades.
space is so important too, right? On the food truck. So
Yeah,
I'm blown
yeah,
away
yeah.
by what you guys do in the confines of your space. Definitely.
Chef Jay does bigger events than I do, and it's hard, right? Tell us about the events that you do with space.
So we do events at like Angel Stadium, SoFi Stadium, and they're huge events, and you're gonna be there the whole day. So it's all about just putting as much as you can in the truck and stacking things and
Moving them around,
prepping.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Also when you
Yep.
prep things,
It's like playing Tetris.
Yeah,
Exactly,
yes,
yes.
Chef Tetris. Yeah.
There
for
we
sure.
go. That,
We
I
always
mean,
talk about that.
it's-
Well, another cool thing we do with the vacuum seal, and this could help you guys, is we'll vacuum seal ice, right? Because now you have ice packs. So in my cooler, I've got
Okay.
like 50 of them stacked up. So when we go to an event, I just bang that out as an ice pack, and I'm not running to the store to get ice. And
wow.
And we have free ice at our commissary. I don't know how your
We
commissary
got
works.
free ice, but it makes sense to have ice packs like with
No,
the,
yeah,
with
you
the,
can make
private
the
chef
ice.
stuff,
we have
too.
private chefs.
Yeah.
That makes a
Been
lot of
nice.
sense. I never even thought about that. Yeah, this is what I like about chopping up with other chefs, because those little tips can go a long way.
oh man,
Like it can really
Definitely.
help out, and also to our listeners out there. There's other chefs out there listening and saying, how can they do their private events?
Yeah.
I say that, even if you're doing big events, no matter how big the restaurant you work at, how small, I mean, you're still working your butt off
Oh, yeah.
to execute something. And you never know if you're a small time chef, you might be a Chef Brandon, a Chef Jay, a
Right.
Chef Chris Tzorin out there. You never
Yeah.
know, man.
Right.
Like, did you ever think you were gonna have your own spot? Like, was it a dream? Was it like a dream come true for you? How was it?
I'm a confident individual. I thought if I worked hard enough, I'd be able to make it happen. But of course, there's doubt, right? And
Yeah.
I thought it could happen, but not quite this quick. Honestly, when my realtor told me you guys have the opportunity to buy, it just, I don't know, it didn't really all add up at the time, right? But right place, right time. All the stars aligned on that one.
Yeah, it's almost like you lease your restaurant. You know what I mean? Leasing a food truck, buying a food truck. You know what I mean? There's all of these avenues. Like, what do you think of the long run of where you're gonna be at in your career? That's where I see it, right, Jay?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I'm interested. Yeah, where do you think you're going to be in your career? Where do you
Yeah.
see time well spent catering? How do you see that?
We think about that all the time. And I think one of the things with business is like, you want to think 5 years in front of you, right? You want to,
Right.
you got to live in the moment with your food and stuff like that, but you're looking 5 years ahead. My ultimate goal, and this is a wild one, but I'd love to be owning like a bed and breakfast or a wedding venue. If we had a wedding venue, we can kind of prepare like the food we want. We can locally source our food. We can grow our food.
Right.
We have a vision of having like this beautiful kitchen that we built, maybe like, in a barn or something like that, and then building bungalows on a property. So like, let's say you're getting married. You want to come with your wedding party for a weekend. You buy the whole build out and you can have those bungalows for your family and friends. You can have your food right there.
Right.
And then, the good thing about us is like, we wouldn't have to run around as much. If you wanted to have tables, you got to rent them from me. If you want to have your linens, you got to rent them for me. And if you want to bring in your stuff, there's going to be a fee on top of that. So it would kind of help the running around. I feel like, it could be a situation where my family lives on the property.
Yeah.
I think I've got a little country in me. So I would love to do something like that to where we can have our own venue.
What's I'm trying to think of the wine region right now. It's not Napa, but
Sonoma?
a little bit lower than Napa. I forget, but I'll give you the information.
Yeah.
I got a chef. I used to know from the Playboy Mansion, the head chef over there. He opened up a bed and breakfast. He left the Playboy Mansion to open up a bed and breakfast in, gosh, where is it called? I'll let you know.
Yeah.
The wine region. But maybe you guys can link up, and he'll give you the insight.
Right?
He'll give you the insight, and he's doing really well. And he left that whole party atmosphere because Playboy Mansion's having
you after a while.
big events, big catering events, and he was doing it for a while, and he left that to do a bed and breakfast, like you're saying.
That's awesome.
So I'll definitely pass on that information.
Temecula, somewhere like that too. There's some land out there to build.
Right.
My background's actually in construction, so like if I could put the two together, kind of build a spot how we want to do it, that would be dope.
That sounds amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you got a construction background, okay? So that's great because now you know how to plan and things like that. Talk to me about your culinary background. How did that all start? Where did you start your love for cooking?
Yeah, so I think like a lot of us, my love for cooking started as like a little boy. I was, my dad was in the picture, but we'd see him during summers. He lived in Vegas. I lived in Southern California with my mom. We were kind of latchkey kids, meaning she would work during the day. We'd get home early. She would leave instructions or recipes or lay out the food, the mise en place, right, on the counter for me and my brother.
Right.
So she might leave macaroni and kielbasa or whatever it may be. She'd come home and she'd go, "Hey, why'd you add broccoli to this?" And I thought, well, we had it in the fridge. I thought it would be good. So like comforting foods and stuff like that. I just remember doing that. My grandmother used to always watch cooking shows, right? So Graham Kerr, Julia Childs, things like that. And for whatever reason, like I loved them. Like I really enjoyed watching them. So anyways, I was living in Vegas at the time, worked for my dad. He had a construction company, huge company. I was doing really good, making a bunch of money. And 2008 hit, right? The market just completely tanked.
So I remember that.
Yeah,
Right.
It was tough. So my dad sold the business. I was fortunate enough to, he actually sold the business, moved to Thailand. And I was fortunate enough to stay in with the new owners and did that for about 2 years. But in the back of my mind, I was always thinking about the kitchen. So I started going to culinary school while working. So I'd work, 12-hour a day, go to culinary school at night. And it just wasn't feasible, right? So we had some tough decisions to make. Luckily my wife was supportive. Our roots were back here in Southern California. So I told her, let's go back home. Let's go back here and see what we can do. So she agreed, and we moved back here, moved in with my mom, went from owning a home to moving back in with my mom. Excuse me. And then track back years ago, my wife was babysitting a guy who owned a restaurant in Long Beach called La Traviata. Don't know if you guys have been there.
I don't know it. Okay.
Yeah, but I thought it had this opening, right? And I did a little bit of culinary school, and I was super naive to the business. So I went in, set up a meeting with him, and he sat down, and he goes, what's your background? I told him I did culinary school, and he goes, all right, what job are you looking for? And I said, I want to be the executive chef. He goes, okay, where'd you work at? And I said, no. I've actually never worked in a restaurant, but I went to culinary school, and, everybody says I'm like a really good cook. He kind of chuckled, and he goes, I can give you a busser position.
Wow.
But I can't even put you on the floor, man. Like,
Yeah.
you don't know what you're doing. So went home, told my wife, what do you think about me making like $8.50 an hour and getting a little bit of tips? To her credit, we're living at home, lowered our expenses. She said, let's do it. So
Nice.
humbled myself
Right.
big time, learned a bunch, did 3 months of that, got trained to do bartending, got trained to do some serving. They said, if you like to cook, let's see what you can do. Let's revamp our happy hour menu. So the chef was gracious enough to actually, let me do that. So we did that. It did well. Well, a friend of my wife's then hit me up. I guess she was going through rehab and left the program. It was like a high-end drug facility. And she said, it was a great program. I'm clean, but the food was trash. And she goes, I gave them your name. They're going to call you. And like instantly I had anxiety. I was like, yo, I've never even like cooked in a position like that. But they called me. And again, my wife supported me. I gave her every reason why I'd fail. She said, no, you're going to succeed, because I always have so much doubt, right? So anyways, I went there. First thing I did is, the chef interviewed me. He said, if you want to have a job here, let's see what you got. The clients will be down in 2 hours. Go look in the fridge outside and see what we have and put something together. Let's see how it is.
Wow.
So I went out there, saw what we had, told me I had to use the restroom. I just Googled a whole bunch of things. What to do with pork loin, what to do with yogurt. And I had some ideas. So anyways, I ended up doing like a pork loin with, a tzatziki, kind of like a Mediterranean deal. Fortunately enough, got the job. He left, got the executive job there.
Wow.
But money was tight. Money was still tight. I was driving from Huntington to San Clemente, making like $17 an hour at the time, which, it's not terrible money, but with the family, it was challenging. So my wife hit me up and said, I found Morton's is hiring, Morton's Steakhouse in Costa Mesa. Applied there and got a job. They didn't want me in the kitchen, so I took a serving job, right? Figuring, you're going to make pretty good money serving at Morton's. So basically for 6 months, my schedule was 7 in the morning to 4, I'd work at the drug rehab. I'd hightail it out of there, go to Costa Mesa and work from like 5 till midnight at Morton's.
Wow.
Yeah. You do what you got to do, right? And eventually, it was too much. So I left the job in San Clemente, stayed at Morton's, which although I was in the kitchen, I learned so much about like proper service, front of the house, steps of service, how to put down a proper meal, right?
Right.
And you're working with like some high-end clients there. So during that time, we had a friend of my wife's who I was mentioning him earlier, Earth Friendly Products, Ecos, one of my corporate clients. A lady there named Kelly Vlahakis, who's now the owner of the company. She was doing an event, and she had seen that I did some cooking. And she called my wife and just said, hey, would Brandon be willing to do, a 20-person luncheon for us? Or actually, it was a dinner party. I'm sorry. It was a dinner party, a multi-course dinner party. So, I called my wife. She was super excited. Hey, we got this dinner party we're going to do. And I'm like, wait, what? Never done a dinner party.
Right.
How many courses does she want? Tell me it's buffet, right? At least it's buffet. No. She wants coursed out, 3 appetizers, soup, salad, entree, dessert, plated, talked about the food. And here I'm again, doubting myself. Oh, man, I'm trying to think of every reason. Honey, I'm not feeling good. I don't think we should do this. I'm a little bit sick. No, you're going to do it. Didn't even have sheet trays, didn't have anything, right? So tapped into the little money we had, got a little bit of stuff, prepped out of my house for a while, right? That's what most chefs have to do.
Yeah. The first one is always like the most time-consuming one.
It was tough, yeah, but did that one, and sure enough, it went really good. And, from that one, somebody asked for a card, which we didn't even have at the time, so I scribbled it down on a Post-it. And then it just, one thing led to another, and next thing we know, we're doing corporate events, and, I'm so appreciative of her. She got the ball rolling. And, to this day, we've really never invested any money in marketing. It's all been word of mouth.
Very cool.
Yeah. So sorry to get long-winded there.
No, I love it.
That's what we want to hear, like the reality behind the chefs, chef life, because there's a life that comes behind that. There's long hours. There's like, that's what I want to get into. Like, everybody sees the glamour and that you're doing good, the congratulations on Facebook, Instagram, and everything.
Right.
But they don't know what's going on behind the scenes, like the long hours where, you know what I mean? And then when you get the bad news where you have to move a damn drain or something in the restaurant or something, you know what I mean? Or you know what I mean? And then your kids or your wife at home are like, hey, you need to spend more time.
Right.
Or what's it? And like, wait a minute, like, what? Look at you're trying to balance 2 worlds at the same time.
Yeah.
But then you have the client also. Like, you can't forget about your client over the week.
No.
That's gonna, that's your bread and butter. And you're like, wait a minute, I gotta act happy in front of the client.
Right.
And you know what I mean? And I still gotta go pick up my product and make sure the right salt and pepper. Like, we're still cooking at this time, right?
Oh, for
We're
sure.
still tasting food and make sure it tastes good. So tell me about that, man.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny you say that, because somebody told me, actually, I was working at Morton's. My GM told me, even if you're stressed out, you want to think like a duck, right? So a duck, you look at a duck underwater, their feet are going like this to tread, to stay afloat, right? But what does the duck look like above the water? They're just peacefully
chilling
around. So I've always thought about that, right? I can have mad anxiety. The minute I go through that pipe and drape, I'm proper Chef Brandon, right? So yeah, it's a crazy aspect, and, like you said, like the first year, you don't have the funds to just go lease a kitchen. You don't have the funds to go even rent a kitchen. Shit, I didn't even have the funds to go get a cooler, right? Or a refrigerator. So, I'm going to Costco getting black bins, bath filling them with ice, and that's my cooler. You can get a black bin for $12. You can get a cooler for $80, and at that point, we just didn't have those kind of funds. So I definitely think back to the humble beginnings. You know, I remember one time we were in my kitchen cooking, and all of a sudden we all hear bang. You know, and while I'm cooking, my kid's pulling at my leg for attention. You know, it's stuff everywhere. You turn your house into a commercial kitchen.
Right.
Yeah.
And that bang was the faceplate of my oven popped off.
Oh, man.
We had it at such high heat. There's a bang, you know, and this is like the night before an event. So you just, you know, you got to make things work. So our stove became an oven, and yeah.
Real quick,
Imagine that.
I think
It's
it's
wild,
interesting how, you know, you finish culinary arts school, right?
Yeah.
And the first restaurant you walk into, you're like, I want to be the executive chef.
Right.
I mean, that's what all these cooks think when they
Yep.
come out of culinary arts school.
Yes.
And I mean, I
So
thought the
true.
same thing. I thought, you know, I was like, yo, I want to make $20, $30 an hour
Yeah.
and be the boss.
Right.
Because I just spent $20,000 on culinary arts school. But
Yeah.
that's not actually the case, because
Yeah.
there's a lot to learn, you know, in your culinary career, right? I mean,
Yeah, no
you're not
doubt.
just coming out making $100,000 an hour just so everybody knows, right?
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's this, excuse my French, but to be the boss, you got to do boss shit. And to do boss shit, you got to move your way up the ranks, and you got to learn. You know, if they would have thrown me into the kitchen, the restaurant would have shut down in a week. I didn't know what I was doing. I was naive, right?
If you really think about that, balancing a restaurant, you have the food cost, the labor cost. Not only that, but you're managing people. Like, people are like,
yeah.
I mean, you're managing cooks that, I mean, there's half the time they don't care. They're there, you know, and then you got the passionate ones that are too passionate that they just want to just do one little dish throughout the whole hour.
Right.
And then it's like,
Oh, it's so
wait a
true.
minute. And then you're dealing with all these personalities. Then you got to deal with the servers, the really bubbly ones that just ignore everything and want to tat on everybody. And then you're dealing with another server
With
that's just
chatterboxes while you're trying to
upset.
focus.
You know what I mean? So
So
imagine
true.
really being an executive chef of a restaurant and really dealing with everybody, and you have to wear all of these faces, like the duck you said, right?
Right.
And
right.
then you almost have to be like, yeah, I cut my little finger. Okay, I'm so sorry. Can you put a Band-Aid on it? Because now you're dealing with HR. Back then, on my dad's days, there's no HR.
No.
Like, hey, dude, get the hell out the kitchen, or you're not gonna be with us.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it's so true.
there's 10 doors in this building. Which one do you want to walk out of? Because the next guy's gonna be walking out. Okay, you know, you can't do that anymore.
No,
Right.
that's so true.
And then you go back into margins, and then you say, okay, but then the cooks turn around and said, hey, but you guys sold $5,000 in today in the restaurant. Like, I
How
want to
come
raise.
I can't get my money.
Yeah, and it's like, wait a minute, our rent is X, Y, and Z. You know, we're behind on this stuff, but you know, I mean, we got to get the margins are so low in a
Oh, yeah.
restaurant.
Yep.
And that's where I want you to get back at. These kids from culinary school come out thinking because they're Instagram known,
right.
that they're going to be really like making these big bucks, man. And Jay, you said it best. No, it's not like that. You got to put your dues in, and you said it best.
Oh, yeah.
You got to work. You got to put in your dues, man.
You do.
right?
Absolutely.
Right. And I think, you know, part of putting in your dues is going through experiences. And then when you go through those experiences, that's how you learn and you grow, and you learn how to plan. You learn about food costs. You learn about all the details with running a restaurant. Because to Chris's point, it's not just cooking food.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know I've met a lot of great cooks, and they're great at what they do. They're the best grill cooks in Orange County. You know, they can knock out steaks and things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then when it comes to like planning the full event, that's not what they do.
So true.
And that's why
Yeah.
some people are cooks
Yes.
and some people are chefs.
That's right.
And props to them for being great cooks. But that's what I do as a chef, as a planner.
So true, man.
And,
So
and
true.
you know what gets me about this whole conversation with Chef Brandon here? You were able to work front of the house, brother.
Yeah.
How cool is that? Because there's a lot of chefs that didn't work front of the house.
Yeah.
Like me and Chef Jay, we're talking to guests every day.
Right.
Like that is that's a cherry on top of a
Oh,
chef.
it's sweet. It's sweet.
Right?
Yeah.
Who everybody wants to talk to a chef these days. Being a chef today is popular.
Right.
Now a lot of chefs, they don't want to talk to guests or anything.
Right, right.
So how was that? How did that help you out in the career? Now that you
Oh,
think about
man.
it, the busboy position you took
More
at the beginning.
More than I even get give it credit for. There's so many there's within my radius of where my shop is, there's probably 20 chefs better than me within 5 miles, right? Maybe more than that. The thing that distinguishes me from other people is that, that attention to detail with the guests is genuine hospitality, which when I was at Morton's, that was one of the things they said. For the minute that guest walks in the door, just like, when you and I were talking earlier, it's that genuine hospitality. So, I've been very fortunate to be able to meet the right people and, keep it authentic. I keep it very authentic with people that I'm doing work for. And just, the front of the house, it's little things too. Like, it'll drive me nuts. If I have a server and the food's done and they either say, are you done with that? Or are you still working on that? Well, at Morton's, they tell you this. You don't work on food. You come into a restaurant because you don't want to think about it. So you never want to ask a guest, are you still working on it? Thing you do is you say, are we still enjoying? Little things like that. So
like
when I'm on the floor,
right,
it's my pleasure.
Yes.
Are you still enjoying? It's picking from the right side.
That.
It's offering another drink when their drink's half empty. Front of the house stuff was insane, man. And like, Chris, like you're one of the best in the industry at communicating with your guests. You become part of the party in the right way. Like the guests really love and gravitate to you, and it's just so important to be that face of the business. And although we're far from celebrities, I think when you're in somebody's home and you're a chef and you've got your jacket on, you just put down a great meal. You're a very important person to those guests. So if you're out there and you're talking to people,
definitely,
and I have some clients that say this is my personal chef, and it just means a lot to them. So having that front of the house knowledge and being able to communicate with them and just kind of knowing some of the little details and intricacies of, providing genuine hospitality is, such a great experience for me. I'm so glad it all happened for a reason.
That's amazing that he said that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's the steps that you take through your journey, you're adding to your toolbox, if you will.
It's like my Madden score is like 99 now.
Ooh. This brother is who's he? Michael Vick.
Michael Vick
doing it all.
Good with the legs.
I like
big
that.
arm.
I mean, it looks like your career is based on your experience, and you just took it to where it's at today. And it shows that you grew in your career with your family, and it was very consistent.
Yeah,
it was consistent. You had a consistent path going to where you're at. And it looks, I could see Chef Brandon doing some big things later on, man.
Appreciate that.
No
big
doubt.
Deal.
No doubt.
This is cool.
Definitely, Brandon. Brandon, talk to us. Where can our guests find you? What's your website?
Sure.
Give us all the detailed
Instagram
information.
handle.
Yeah,
so
no doubt.
Everybody on the podcast can know what's up with Brandon Hall and Time Well Spent Catering. Awesome.
So you can find me at Chef Brandon Hall on Instagram, timewellspentcatering.com, Time Well Spent Catering on Facebook. And looking forward to doing some big things. I think over the next few years, we're really gonna move in a new direction and get some bigger things going.
All right.
Awesome, guys. Well, I think that concludes, you know what I mean? Anything else you want to say, Jay, Brandon, anything?
Thank you,
I just want to thank Bruheim Brewery up in Anaheim, California for having us. We had a great time here. Chef Chris definitely did his thing. Brandon Hall, we definitely appreciate you all. Go ahead.
Backstage.
Jimmy on the beat.
Remember Jimmy
on the ones and twos in the back.
Jimmy on the beat, so it's not nice.
So it's not nice.
Hey.
And we're real quick talking about Jimmy. I definitely want to show everybody the Let's Chop It Up Food Podcast Show T-shirts right here. Shout out to Jimmy for making this right here. We're definitely gonna have those. Are we gonna work on getting those out to the public?
I actually,
I think we're.
Yeah, you know what, Brandon? We have yours. Definitely, we have yours. Awesome. But I think we're gonna be giving some away. As soon as you start sharing this podcast. Once we start dropping our podcast, you see the link below. Go ahead and let's chop it up, and you might get one in the mail. Awesome. Let's go from there.
Let's do it.
Let's go, guys.
Alrighty, guys. This is your chef Chris Tzorin with Chef Jay and Chef Brandon. This is episode 4 of Let's Chop It Up. Thank you so much. And Jimmy on the beat. Let's go. Let's chop it up.
Peace.
Peace.